watch. There were some other notable, I think, firsts or oldest survivings, to be more accurate. Like the oldest surviving Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde film.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely not the first, because we've passed over like 3 or 4 of them
Yeah.
that didn't survive, I think.
They've been going at it for a while, but this is the earliest one that you can actually find that isn't like burned or lost. Yeah, it's fine.
And this is what's the Thanhouser company
Yeah.
who did this.
Which is a pretty short-lived New York-based film studio. Although I was reading about it, and it kind of sent me down a wormhole about how Thanhouser was one of the few kind of East Coast film studios that relocated to Jacksonville shortly after this, Jacksonville, Florida, for the brighter light and the warmer climate. And Jacksonville almost became the sort of primary American filmmaking hub city, but lost out to LA. There was sort of a brief time where they were both kind of vying for that position.
Jacksonville.
But there's a really good Vox.com video about that whole thing.
Oh, I should check that out. Can
Yeah.
link that to me, and I'll link it to the listeners.
Will do. A little context about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, though. I think we should say, I don't know if we said it on the podcast before, the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was the first live-action thing I ever directed when I was like 14 or 15.
I think you were even younger than that, right?
Maybe.
I mean, I think I was like 12 when
You
we
starred
made
in it.
Yes. Yeah, I was Mr. Utterson, and this is another instance of Mr. Utterson erasure.
Yes,
in
complete
this
Mr.
movie.
Utterson erasure. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Utterson is the actual like main point of view character of the novella, the Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson, and he is almost always cut out in every adaptation, because the original is a mystery that you don't find out till the very end that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are the same person. It's like a big twist that they've been the same person the whole time. And this 1912 film, like most versions or adaptations, completely ignores that, and it's just right from the get-go. Dr. Jekyll's the main character,
Right.
and it's just about him kind of trying to hide his double life.
Mr. Hyde, his double life, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a yeah, it was funny because I've never read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but like I feel like I have a sense of the story beats from being in it.
My version of it follows the novella very closely. It was like a sticking point for me. I was like, I'm gonna do it right. No one else is doing this. I'm gonna do it like very, very close to the actual thing.
Yeah, this one was, I think, based less on the book and more on an earlier stage version from the late 1800s.
Yeah, that stage version. I think the actual original stage version maintains the mystery aspect that you don't actually find out till I think at least about halfway through that they're the same person. But that the play version adds the character of Jekyll's fiance, who is kind of a major character in almost every film adaptation that I've seen. Or at least a lot of the big ones, because that gives it a nice romantic subplot that the original story is completely lacking. And yeah, I mean
it's like Frankenstein's fiance in the Frankenstein movie from 2 years ago.
There's a pretty decent makeup and performance, I think, by James Cruz, who plays the dual role. I think he does a pretty good job, like playing the two different characters, or two different people.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny the way that Mr. Hyde is evil in this is that he just kind of goes around pushing people and looking menacing.
I mean, that's kind of how he is in the novella too, until he does a murder.
Yeah. He's just a gnarly looking dude who people like fear, and then he murders them.
Yeah. The biggest departure from this novella that I did not appreciate was Poole, the best character, who is Jekyll's butler, doesn't even
Yeah.
get to chop the door down at the end. That's like
Yeah.
his big moment.
They give the axe to Alan instead.
Yeah, I was constantly comparing everyone's performances in this movie to my friends when they were 12.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a fun one.
It was, yeah. I'm glad we finally got to watch one of these early Jekyll and Hyde movies.
Yeah.